Guts' journey inside of the stupa was a bit perplexing to say the least. It was a dark enclosure that acted as a void, a disconnected region that trapped Guts within the darkness so that he may gaze into himself, into his soul. Now before we start throwing around various speculations and theories, it's pivotal to gain a basic understanding of what stupas are and what they represent. Stupas have been around for more than 2,550 years, becoming a real treasure of knowledge about the inner and outer phenomena. That is to say, one can be enlightened by the nature of their own mind and the process to full development. Given that I'm a huge fan of Carl Jung's work, it seems like this is a path towards individuation, i.e. a path towards integrating the conscious mind with the unconscious. In effect, the aim is to unsheath societal conditioning so that one may become their most authentic self. In addition to this, one must encounter their inner shadow, i.e. the repressed aspects of their personality, and learn to accept it and integrate it into their conscious being. For Guts, his inner shadow is represented via the Beast of Darkness, a manifestation of his wrath and bloodlust, born from his trauma of the events during the eclipse. It serves as a constant reminder of his malice towards Griffith, and will offer him blinding power if he so chooses. Though he's dipped into this well of darkness from time to time, he's rejected the full subjugation of his mind. Because that's the trade-off. If he accepts the full potential of the Beast of Darkness, he loses everything that makes him a human being. It's essentially the same deal an apostle makes. They abandon something that defines their humanity to transcend their physical form. In doing so, they are forever bound to a doomed fate, as the Count found out firsthand when he was consumed by the swirling vortex of souls. Therefore, if Guts were to make such a deal with the Beast of Darkness, he too would be subjugated to an eternity of suffering. That all being said, he found a workaround. A way to dip into the well of evil power without sacrificing his humanity. When Guts dons the Berserker armor, he's able to harness the Beast of Darkness for a very short period of time. His strength and agility are not restrained by his body's physical limitations, allowing him to exert unparalleled brutality. Yet, each use of the armor becomes more perilous than the last. Guts is essentially sacrificing a portion of his humanity each time that he uses it. Hence the reason his vision is becoming blurry. If he continues going down this path, eventually the Beast of Darkness will win, and will turn Guts into nothing more than a husk of malevolence. And that is what I believe happened to the Skull Knight. And if you want to know more about that, watch this video right here. This all brings us back to the stupa and what I think will happen. Guts, much like Casca during her dreamscape, will have to confront the horrors of his past. He will have to deal with his repressed emotional scars by making the unconscious conscious. That is to say, he mustn't run away from his guilt, fears, and indignation. He must confront the repressed components of himself through a technique called active imagination. Active imagination is therefore characterized by bridging the gap between the conscious ego and the unconscious, by allowing the person to converse with personified archetypes and the repressed aspects of the self. Now, upon hearing this, I think it's pretty clear what Guts needs to do. He needs to have a conversation with the Beast of Darkness, the personification of his anger. Take the unconscious in one of its handiest forms, say a spontaneous fantasy, a dream, an irrational mood, an affect, or something of the kind, and operate with it. Give it special attention, concentrate on it, and observe its alterations objectively. Above all, do not let anything from the outside that does not belong there get into it, for the fantasy image has everything it needs. This coincides very well with Guts' current disposition. Inside the stupa, he is walled off from outside interference. He is surrounded by complete silence and darkness. So there is nothing to do but to gaze into his own soul, to gaze into his own personal Beast of Darkness. Now, a curious phenomena happened when he started exploring the surface level memories of his mind. He became submerged by water. Jung linked water with the unconscious regions of the mind, and how archetypal truths, i.e. fears, violent motives, selfish needs, lie dormant and control us as if we're being guided by some mysterious hand, the hand of God as it were. And why is it called the hand of God? Because universal archetypes exist in a realm called the collective unconscious. This concept refers to inherited information due to a shared heritage. Hence the reason we see universal themes and symbols in mythologies, religions, arts, and dreams. Mira used this very idea in chapter 83, when he introduced the god of the Berserk universe, the idea of evil. Violence and loneliness. This place is filled with all kinds of blurred and negative emotions. It is truly the will that defines human nature. Obeying the essence of humankind, I weave every man's destiny. So in Mira's vision, the idea of evil represents the collective unconscious of the human species, at least the evil portions of that unconsciousness. And because every man, woman, and child is born with these innate emotions, they are manipulated through the greater will. Guts too is being silently guided by his lust for revenge, and the beast of darkness acts as his conduit. Now for most humans, their emotions silently guide them through daily affairs. But for those who become obsessed with a singular goal, their body is transformed through a radical process. They become one with demonkind and an agent of the idea of evil, i.e. an apostle. In this instance, their unconscious shadow becomes the dominant personality as they cast off their ego into the void. But for Guts, he has staved off this time and time again. His persistence in saying no to the beast of darkness and saying no to demonkind is his defining characteristic. Where others' wills were broken, he found a reason to push on. That is, until recently. Much like Griffith after he got tortured, Guts has seemingly lost his will to live. Which means he's susceptible to throw everything away for his singular obsession, getting revenge on Griffith. But if he can confront the beast of darkness and acknowledge that it's a part of himself, he can foster a union and self-actualize as a person. Now we have two very differing ways of thinking in the Berserk universe. The apostles accept dark energy, literally bathing themselves in this quote-unquote unlimited power, while mages reject it and keep it separate from the good forces of the world. Guts, in my estimation, will find a third option, blending the two together in a perfect harmony. In this way, he'll awaken his full capabilities while maintaining that which makes him human. But what exactly will this look like? And how will it help him in defeating Griffith and the God Hand? I believe the solution lies in his sword, the Dragon Slayer. In Jungian psychology, the sword is an archetypal symbol of the Logos, the penetrating power of the intellect and truth. It represents the vital courage required to cut through illusions and confront the shadow. This is important because apostles in the God Hand are the physical manifestations of their shadow form. And as we've seen time and time again, the shadow is not the true self. It is merely an illusion. It's a facade that disguises the truth. Remember what happened to the Count and Wyald when they were defeated? We saw them for who they truly were. They weren't monsters. They were scared men who were obsessed with power. And because of this obsession, it obfuscated their true form. Now, despite Griffith's near omnipotent powers, we know deep down that he's still a broken man. He's that same broken man that's laughing maniacally in that lake. And once his God Hand powers are stripped away, he'll return to that form. And Guts' sword represents the harshest truth. And I believe with the infusion of the Beast of Darkness' energy, we will see it cut away Griffith's false persona, the persona known as Femto.